Very good day to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Candy Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Herman Manyora. I'm glad that you're here with us. I'm joined by my resident guest, Wakili Willie Socheno, the Deputy Party Leader of Safina Party and a constitutional lawyer. Of course, Wakili, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes.
The ruling by the High Court that has actually termed the decision of the Deputy Chief Justice of empanelling that bench that had the kind of plea from Rigathi Gachagua, and of course involving the Rigathi Gachagua and the state during his impeachment. The High Courts have actually pronounced themselves here, and they are saying here that it was illegally constituted. What does this mean? What are the consequences?
You know, if you are to strictly apply the law,
yes,
as it is, Rigathi Gachagua stands impeached, but there are stay orders stopping the swearing in of Kithure Kindiki. Those stay orders issued by the Kerugoya Court were set aside and varied by the illegally constituted bench. The empanelment of that bench has been set aside, has been impugned and quashed by the Court of Appeal. The natural consequence of it is that any orders that that bench that was illegally constituted made equally falls by the wayside. So anything that was done in furtherance of those orders, including the swearing in of Kithure Kindiki as Deputy President, suffers the same fate. So what we have is an illegitimate Deputy President and a disgraced, impeached Deputy President who is fighting in court to challenge his impeachment. So technically, Gachagua remains the Deputy President. Kithure remains the illegitimate Deputy President whose appointment stands revoked by dint of that order by the Court of Appeal. But I don't trust Kenya Kwanza to understand the law or even to understand the orders issued by the courts or to abide by them. So as things stand, the Court of Appeal, having rendered itself, you will expect in an orderly society the natural consequence to flow. We go back to the status quo that we were in ante the swearing in of Kithure Kindiki. That is where we are back to. But this also speaks a lot to how the judiciary has handled these impeachment proceedings and other political cases. They need to pay more attention and be alive and attuned to a process that bestows public confidence in the judiciary. In this particular instance, the hasty manner in which the court was empaneled and the manner in which orders and directives were being dished left a sore taste in the mouths of many Kenyans. You may not like Gachagua, but he's entitled to his rights in court. Give him a hearing. As I argued before, I'll argue that today. You may even give him a hearing and dismiss his petition.
Yes.
But don't be in a hurry to condemn a man, even if he has a weak case or a hopeless case. He has his right in the Constitution to be heard. Just grant him that. And in this particular instance, the courts, in my view, overreached themselves. Nothing could have stopped even a hearing, a day-to-day hearing. Even wait for an extra day for the Chief Justice to appear and to empanel that bench. And give him a hearing, hear it within a day or two, and dismiss his petition. As opposed to make orders that are now embarrassing the judiciary. And judiciary is one institution that we have so much faith in. We will never want to see the judiciary lose its credibility. But when it starts wading into these political cases and somersaulting and doing things in a haste, when other Kenyans who have equally more important cases are left to wait for a long period of time because of the congestion in the cost list, it leaves a bad taste in the mouth. And this should be a wake-up call to the courts. Politicians will leave you high and dry, and they will embarrass you. This is the embarrassment they're now suffering.
Okay, talk to me about the role of the Chief Justice in this, because when I read that particular ruling, it actually revealed that the Chief Justice would have even constituted this particular panel, this particular bench, even electronically, if it wasn't available.
That argument was made by my friend Elisha. And it's true. Nowadays, most court proceedings are done virtually, even the filing of cases. And even once you file a case, the system automatically transmits the case to a judge electronically. So a judge can even be at home and you'll be able to access, as long as they log in to the CTS, they are able to see and issue directions. So in this day and age, the Chief Justice, as Elisha said, cannot be virtually absent. It's impossible. And that's why I say there was no haste. Electronically, the Chief Justice could be reached, whichever part of the world she may have been in. And there was no hurry. The world was not coming to an end that night.
At least not for you, but for them it was like...
It was not coming to an end. We have more important cases that are still lagging in the courts. What was so great about this one, having a bench to be empaneled and to set aside those orders? There was no rush. So this is judicial embarrassment. But I hope these are lessons learned. We take it that these are lessons learned. And next time, the courts should be more attuned to the quest to serve, and more so to provide justice in a fair manner. What is seen to be a fair and transparent process. They should not be seen to be more enthusiastic to respond to political pressure or the agency of politicians. That is their agency as politicians. But a wait for a day or two will not bring down the stable. Still be there.
If the decisions made by that illegally empaneled bench at that time are null and void, as you're saying here, and therefore unconstitutional, then does it then therefore mean that we should be having the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, as the Deputy President?
As it is, Rigathi Gachagua is the Deputy President. In my view, if you are to strictly apply the law, he is the impeached Deputy President whose impeachment and consequent decisions have been stayed by the courts as per the Kerugoya decision.
Yes.
He stands impeached, yes, but he's still the Deputy President, and the swearing in of Kindiki stands voided. Not avoidable, it's voided.
Okay.
So we should be dealing with where we were as at the date when the court in Kerugoya made the decision. That is where everybody should be. Empanel a bench, hear that application where those orders should be extended, they should be set aside, with Rigathi Gachagua standing as the impeached deputy.
So we are talking about a legitimate impeached Deputy President and an illegitimate serving Deputy President.
Exactly. That is where we are now.
That is where we are. How then does the government actually cure this? Because
the only cure for me to avoid this legal jumble is we go quickly back to where we were, was at the date when the court in Kerugoya submitted the file to the Chief Justice. Have a bench empaneled. Then fast track the hearing of those cases. Anything they do to try to legitimize Kithure Kindiki, we leave them with mud on their faces. Kithure Kindiki just needs to swallow the humble pie.
So we assume that Kithure Kindiki has not actually been sworn in.
He's not been sworn in because we are back to where we were before. That is where we were.
Okay.
And start doing processes. And they can do all of this and still swear in Kithure Kindiki. They can still swear him in. They can even win the court case and swear him in. Again. Nothing stops them. You see, they have the numbers. And they have the appointing authority. So, they have the numbers in parliament. They can do it. But we need to have legal tidiness in this process. You saw the time when Obama, when he took his oath as president, and he missed one word.
Yes.
The Chief Justice had to call a private ceremony for him to take the oath properly, to just create legal tidiness, to tie it up. So even here, that swearing in is impeached. Let them go back to where we were. before the Kerugoya decision, at the time of the Kerugoya decision, then you clean your process legally.
Okay.
But it's illegitimate. They will not do it. They are used to illegitimacy. That is their portion.
Politically, if you look at this, there are people who are describing this as a win for the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Is it for you?
I don't know how far a win it will be to him, but at least politically it exposes the shenanigans and the haste in which that system he used to serve wanted to get rid of him. So he's gotten a breather, but you cannot celebrate at this. It's still too early for him to celebrate. Yeah, the court may hear the case and dismiss his petition. Then, what win is it? People don't celebrate interlocutory decisions. You celebrate the final outcome, not the interlocutory decisions which are made by the courts. So they can still be overturned when the main case is heard on its merits. So I will not pop any champagne for him at this point.
You'd still wait for the main case so that you...
For the main petition to be heard and a determination made. That's when you can say that he's out of the woods. As it is now, he's still in the woods.
We've had several cases which I do not actually know the right term to use to describe it, but more of we've seen some sort of throwing of an egg on the government's face here. All these things, now look at what we're witnessing here, and actually this also brings us to question maybe the kind of effectiveness of even the office of the Attorney General and all the government, the legal advisors, the team of legal advisors that the government has at the end of the day. Why do they keep getting these things wrong?
You know, unfortunately for us at this particular stage is that the office of the legal advisor to the government is also caught up in the political tumble.
Yes.
So they have to skew their legal advice to favor the politics of the day, unfortunately. So they'll always temper their legal advice to serve what the political interest deserves at any particular point. So that is why you end up having this kind of egg in the face all the time. They are political appointees. It's not like the Attorney General is an independent office. He is appointed by the President, can be sacked by the President. There is no even security of tenure to that office holder. So
therefore, whoever the holder of that office also serves at the mercies of the President.
Exactly. And they'll give legal advice skewed to serve the interests of the office holder.
Okay. There are people who actually believe that these things have now been overtaken with time, and therefore the country should just forget about them and move on.
We should adopt that language of moving on. Should not be part of our legal or national dichotomy. Because when you start talking about moving on, then you are saying you undermine the Constitution. That language was a very bad language introduced by Uhuru Kenyatta. Of moving on from what? Illegalities remain illegalities. Unconstitutional acts remain unconstitutional acts. And persons who are purveyors of misrule are the ones who encourage the use of the term move on. There's nothing to move on from. We should be talking about adherence to the rule of law. That is what we should be talking about, and demand the rule of law at all times, even when it's inconvenient or unfavorable to you. Just abide on the side of the law. Don't move on. Kenyans should never move on from anything. It is that moving on that led to Baby Pendo being killed, because we failed to get accountability for 207 victims. It is that moving on that led to Gen Zs being killed, because we failed to get accountability. It is that moving on that led to the 2023 Azimio protest dressers being killed, because we failed to get accountability to victims. We should never accept that term move on. There is no moving on. Our national discourse should be about the rule of law, transparency and accountability, period.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, weigh in and tell us what you actually think about the recent ruling by the High Court that actually quashed the ruling by the bench that paved way for the swearing in of Professor Kithure Kindiki as the Deputy President of this country. Allow me to stop for now till we have this conversation again. Have yourself a lovely day. My name is Evans Okinyi.